Welcome to the next installment of the Farzad Mesbahi podcast. Today, I have the great Jeremy Knight. Jeremy Knight runs a YouTube channel where he talks about Austin real estate. He does have, if you just search for Jeremy Knight right on YouTube, he'll come right up. And he's also a Tesla owner and I'm assuming a Tesla fan. So I'm super excited to sit down with Jeremy and talk about Austin real estate, talk about Tesla, how that sort of dynamic is going right now. But yeah, Jeremy, thank you for coming on and welcome.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I appreciate all the nice words about my channel and everything. So yeah, thank you. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So maybe give the audience a little bit about yourself, your background, how long you've been in real estate, things like that. I'll just hand over the mic to you.
Perfect. Yeah. So I moved to Austin about 2013, started real estate kind of right thereafter. I was selling real estate with my wife. We've been a husband and wife team for a while. And I was doing a lot of, YouTube content and kind of stuff with just about, Austin a little bit here and there and kind of about listings we had. And then somebody one day told me, he's like, you know what, there's really no good information about Austin. So if you're searching for Austin, if you're trying to get information, there's really no good information. So I changed my channel to talk about what to expect when you're moving to Austin. What's the pros and the cons? A lot of people want to just sell a city. And so I felt it was doing people a disservice just to tell them all the good stuff. So we started this YouTube channel about a year into it. I started a podcast on our channel called Real Migos. So I have two other guys that'll come on that are part of my team here in Austin. And so you get three different perspectives and then we'll bring on a guest. And so it's good. Austin in general, I would like to say is going through an identity crisis. And people want to blame it on Tesla, right? They say Tesla's the problem, but that's the old guard of people who've lived here forever. I don't think that Tesla has ever been the problem with Austin in our identity crisis. So we can talk about that, what I think that is. But, there's so many good changes happening in Austin, but with that comes a lot of bad changes. So it's definitely been a great, it's been, for me, I've been here 10 years, seeing where it's going. There's a lot of good pros and cons. So I'm excited about that. And as a real estate agent, this market has been kind of insane for the last 2 years. 2019 was a great year in real estate. 2020, the first half was very concerning. And then all of a sudden it just lit on fire. And part of it had to do with the announcement of Tesla moving here, but we also had so many big companies moving here because Austin is changing and moving towards more of a tech forward first city. You have a lot of great thinkers that are coming here. Elon's one of them. And so I'm excited that, on my YouTube channel, we've got to talk about Elon and what he's done, the pros and the cons. And so as a Tesla owner, I'm excited he's here. As somebody who's bought property in South Padre, I love that he's down there in Boca Chica. So it's exciting. It's a good time in Austin. It's a good time in Texas.
That's great, man. And that's one thing. So I've only lived in Austin since October of 2020, but sort of that excitement for the future and that growth potential of Austin is what really drew me here. And, I haven't been here long enough to really understand. So like that identity crisis thing, I really want to get into. And I'm kind of so happy that you brought that up so early on. But like for me, moving into the area, there's this very unique charm about the city. Like it feels city, but it feels small. And like I think a lot of the people make it that way. But I'm curious, like from your end, from your perspective, what is that identity crisis that people might be talking about, and how does Tesla play into that? I'm very, very curious you brought that up. So yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So since about early 2000s, Austin has gone from this sleepy little city to, a tech magnet. It's gone to, obviously it's the capital of Texas. So it's always been very important. If you were here in early 2000s and when I was here in 2013, it's definitely a different feel. And that feel is because it was this smaller city. It was kind of I guess you could say a crunchy city, right? A granola city, if you will. But it was one of these little cities that everybody was just so, when I moved here in 2013, I could not believe how friendly everybody was. When I started my real estate career, I started door knocking on people's doors like, hey, if you know we have a open house. Every single time I did that, I got offered in like, hey, come in and grab a Lone Star, come in and grab a beer, like sit down, let's talk about it. What's going on with you? And people were just so incredibly friendly. And so that's changed a little bit. So where the identity crisis happened, I think, is that because for the longest time, Austin said, you know what, we're not growing. We're this little city. Then they put in a convention center. Then you had South by Southwest and you have ACL. You have all these attractions here. And look, Austin is one of the most gorgeous cities I've ever been to. And so, you know, as somebody who came here in early 2000, in the early 2000s, like 2007, I came to visit. I was like, if there's any place, and I was living in San Diego at the time. I'm like, if there's any other place I leave or move to, it's going to be Austin. And so, really, the identity crisis lies in this. And the identity crisis is that Austin has been this small city. We have not been this huge city. And so as we're being forced to grow, because we're being forced, but it wasn't, you know, there were so many tech companies here well before Tesla. I think Tesla moving here was finally people going, oh, it's a legitimate city. And the problem is that I don't think we were a legitimate city in the minds of on a growth pattern. So we're in this process where we're trying to grow. We're trying to figure out how to grow. And you have a lot of people who have ideas of how to grow that maybe not the best. And so now we're in this weird situation. I mean, we had a booming homeless population. I just put a video out today talking about this on my channel. We had a booming homeless population because the thought was, okay, well, let's not criminalize people for being homeless. And then all of a sudden, I had the mayor of Kyle on my YouTube channel, and I asked him, I was like, hey, are you guys sending people from Kyle to Austin? He's like, well, in Kyle, it's illegal to be homeless. You didn't answer my question. Are you sending people to Austin? It's illegal to be homeless in Kyle. So you had the homeless population explode in that 2020 timeframe. And that's where the voters came back and said, look, we are not going to do this. Put the camping ban back in place. And it was our city council and our mayor who were like, no, you know, the voters are angry or mean for doing this, but we have such a gorgeous, gorgeous city. And it was not pretty at that time. So, so it's a lot of things like that. There's a lot of power plays going back and forth. Obviously, we're a pretty liberal city. So you have the state and the city arguing back and forth. And so there's a lot of things like that. But overall, if you take all of that away, Austin's one of the most gorgeous cities you can visit. Even now, it's a gorgeous city. And there's so many things that are happening. One thing I'm super excited about, you know, you always hear that Austin's a really good food city, or it's a, you know, what's the term? You know, a foodie city, right?
Yep.
It's not. It's really not. We're really good at barbecue. We're really good at Tex-Mex. Like, and so, but what's
my wife would love you for saying that, because I keep saying they have good food. My wife's from New York. She's like, it's not a foodie city.
Yeah. I mean, I lived in Phoenix, and believe it or not, Phoenix is a super foodie city. It's a very eclectic melting pot. I lived in San Diego, total, like just everything you want was there. And so moving here, I'm like, where's the Greek food? Where's the Indian food? Where's this food? Where's that food? And you couldn't find it. And so that's why I've always said, no, I don't think it's as good. And Austin is known for its ambiance. So you go to a place, it's rustic, it looks fun, it's great, it's outdoors, you're drinking beer, you have a good time, and then you go to eat the food and you're like, something's missing here. It's flavor. Sure. And so, but to my point is that if you look at it now, a lot of these people that are leaving California, they're leaving New York, they're opening businesses here. So we are seeing some really great restaurants start to open. That's kind of bringing Austin into, you know, this newer, I think that's what's taking Austin out of this identity crisis and making it an actual like viable city.
Gotcha. Okay. Very interesting. And so the way I'm thinking about that is, it sounds like Austin's sort of growth into what it's going to become is just getting started, just based on you saying that, right?
Look at Houston. Houston's a gigantic city.
Yeah.
Dallas, Fort Worth, gigantic cities. In fact, Dallas and Fort Worth are two separate cities. Yeah. I see us having a point where we become Austin and then like Salado, or Austin and the I-35 corridor. Because if you think about it, from San Antonio up to about...
And then, sorry, Jeremy, for those that are not familiar with I-35, so I-35 goes north and south, right down Austin. Okay.
Yeah. So the largest freeway is north to south is I-35. Yeah. And it pretty much runs from south to tip, right? And so the I-35 corridor between San Antonio and North Austin, as you get into Killeen, is the fastest growing metropolitan in the entire planet. So we're seeing so much explosion of growth. So at a certain point, we're going to probably see some separations in cities. In fact, when we do the numbers on, what the sales for the area are, is you have the MSA, which is a much larger area, and then Austin itself. So when I tell people what the stats are, it's kind of hard because I can easily pull up the stats for Austin. It's much harder for me to get the full on stats for the MSA. So I had to rely on the people at Texas A&M who put together the stats, and I don't trust the stats. In fact, several times I've said these stats aren't correct. I know they're not right. I've looked at it on my own. So anyway.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Wow. Pretty exciting stuff. And I think so. And like, if we go back to Tesla for a second, so Tesla is on the southern part of Austin, right? It's a southeast. It's right by the airport, right? Yeah. Okay.
Perfect location. In fact, side note, when Amazon was trying to find a place here, I was part of a team that was scouting locations, and that location was the exact location we told them to move.
Really? Okay. And then, so why is that? Why is it such a great location?
The location of the airport, the location of downtown, it's about 25 minutes of downtown. There's an executive airport just north of that. So if you have executives flying in instead of having to fly to ABIA, and then if you have people that are putting in facilities in like Bastrop or East or North, along that outside corridor, which is really 130, there's nothing. There's still not a whole lot. So the idea is that you'll see a ton of development. So think about it now. So Tesla is having to, have manufacturers come in to help them with plastics and things like that. So Kyle, they brought in a manufacturing plant to help with plastics. It's like 300 and something employees going there. The greatest part is there's basically a toll road that goes right to Tesla from there. So the location couldn't have been more perfect. And obviously Elon's a super smart dude, but I mean, I might be as smart as Elon because I said that was a good spot. I'm just kidding. I'm not
we found close. His replacement. We found his replacement.
Please don't. Yeah. If you wanted the company to go down, I'm just going to say more Tesla trucks, make more. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So it's in a part of Austin that has a ton of land around it. It's very close proximity to downtown. So for people, engineers or people that are working at the company that want to experience sort of the city and that life, it's very smartly located there. Okay. Have you seen? So I think you mentioned it. You haven't really seen too much development yet, but is there talk? Like, how much talk is there with developers, companies around Tesla's okay, Tesla's coming here. Let's zone out these areas so that, Tesla can benefit from it or whatever. Like what kind of conversations are you hearing?
Yeah, I mean, Tesla absolutely put the east side of Austin on the map.
Okay.
And so that's a very positive thing because it needed it. There's a lot of companies that are moving here specifically to be closer to Tesla. So you have plastics companies, you have, manufacturing companies. On the east side, there's already a ton of development going. I know I have a friend who's got a ton of land. And because I'm north of Tesla and south of Tesla, and then if you look north, like just next to Samsung, you have a ton of development going in there off of East Palmer. And then on top of that, why in the world would Samsung bring a chip plant to Taylor? Right down that same path. It's right there. The land was cheaper to move to Taylor. There was a lot of communication there. I don't think there was enough tax dollars for them to move to Austin. So they went to Williamson County. Either way, you have a chip plant right there. You have, if you look at San Antonio, Toyota is talking about upping their game in San Antonio. So to compete with Tesla as well. So I think that there's, Tesla making their move to Austin, the location of being in Austin. Had they been better served going to Dallas because it's easier to get in and out of Dallas? Maybe. But I think the fact that Austin is such a tech city and we're bringing in really good talent by the day, I think it's a great opportunity. I think it was one of the smartest moves in my opinion. And that's not just because I've been in Austin forever.
Sure. Yeah, so when I was working I stopped working at Tesla in September of 2021. I'm not sure if you knew that, but I had worked at Tesla for 4 years. And one of the big reasons why Austin even became a thing for us to look at was because of the Gigafactory being built, right? So even as from that perspective, it made us look into Austin because before, we had heard that Austin's a very fast growing city and all that stuff, but that move of Tesla actually coming here is what prompted us to come and look at it. So I can sort of mirror and kind of talk about, also back up what you're saying from that perspective. It really does try to attract talent to that area, which is really, really cool. And then as far as so we talked about it a little bit, the locals and how they perceive Tesla's move here. You've had roots here since you said 2013, right?
Yeah.
Since you moved, so you're familiar with the people. You obviously talk to people often. Is the general consensus from the people that you talk to of Tesla coming here positive or negative? How do you perceive that?
I think it's a good mix. People like myself in my profession are happy about it, and not just because of my profession, but I think Austin has needed growth. There is another subset of people that have been here for a long time that have been part of the pushing against growth in Austin. And so you're going to have it on both sides. I mean, I can't say that and I won't say that the total move has been, widely appraised, because I don't think it has. Because, they weren't very happy about Apple moving here. They're not happy about, the new Samsung plant, but those people have to realize that you have to have some sort of growth in this city in order to we have a super high tax base, right? So in order to pay for all the fun things that we do here, you have to have a good tax base. And so there's a lot of things of that. So I would say probably 60-40, people, 60% probably are really excited about it. 40% are just people that have been here forever and don't want anything to do with growth. There's people that don't like, car manufacturers and manufacturing. So they're not happy about having manufacturing here, but we already have manufacturing here. It's not like they're the only manufacturers in all of Central Texas. So I think, some of it's unfounded, but, I think for the most part, most people are, 60% are probably super excited about it.
Okay. And then people's sort of disdain for manufacturing, is that because of just it's ruining the land? Like, help me think about that. Like, why would they not? That's
primarily. I mean, most of the people are not happy about it. Just the pollution that comes with it, just the things that can happen with that, especially when you have a company that has batteries in a car that could, contaminate earth. I mean, I don't know, but we have, if you look at the history of Austin, there's a road that got put in next to my house. It took them like 10 years to put this road in, because you had environmentalists saying that there's a kangaroo rat or something, or there was caves, and you couldn't do that because it was going to impact the area around it. So Austin's always been super environmentalist. And so I think that's part of the disdain for those people for the plant being here.
That's interesting, because it's almost like I have to separate Austin from broader Texas, because every time I hear about Texas, it's like super business friendly, very low regulations, but it does sound like the city of Austin does have a little bit more policies that might reflect more a liberal city more than anything, right? 100%. Is that a good way of thinking about it? Okay.
If anybody wants to, just for anybody, if you want to look up the voting history and how a city actually votes, right? I mean, look, I should you base your move to anywhere on politics? I mean, that's up to you. But bestplaces.net, there's actually, you can go city by city by city to see what the policies are of that area. So, I mean, that's a good website if you want to look into that. So,
okay, got it. Thank you for that. Yeah. As far as new buyers go, so your clientele, I'm assuming, is mostly new. You do both buy and sell side?
We do both buy and sell. So we're a husband-wife team. I have some agents on my team as well. And we do both. I mean, we help all the way across the board, pretty much Georgetown all the way down to really San Marcos. Okay,
gotcha. So your clientele, the ones that are looking to buy, how often is Tesla part of the discussion, or is it sort of like is it very few people talk about it? A lot of people talk about it. I'm curious to hear.
As far as that they're people moving for Tesla, or they're excited.
Yeah, moving for Tesla, excited about Tesla. Like, well, how often does Tesla come up in conversation?
I would say just coming up in conversation with anybody looking to move here every single time. Gotcha. In some capacity. So the excitement for people moving here is Tesla. I mean, I'm super excited. I can't wait for the Cybertruck to come out. I'm stoked.
I want to talk about that too at some point.
Elon, hurry up and get me a Cybertruck, man. So here's my plan. So, okay, nobody steal this idea, but the moment I get my Cybertruck, I'm getting it wrapped. I'm wrapping it in a huge Texas flag with my logo on it.
Okay.
There you go. So,
if anybody steals that from you, they're going to have a problem.
Yeah, I'm going to find you. I'm going to give you a high five, but you're going to get a dirty look too.
That's so funny. Okay, so and that's kind of what I suspected. Is there? Have you worked? And I don't know if you can sort of share this information, but have you worked with any people that are directly moving here for Tesla? Can you share anything about that? Okay.
Yeah, quite a few. And I think the tough thing that they run into is that, the pricing in Austin isn't always super friendly. And right now there's not as many homes available. So a lot of them are having to rent first, then buy, which becomes even more expensive because as prices go up, as interest rates go up, the challenge is that finding anything between really like 350 and 550 without going in crazy multiple offers at the moment is a problem. As we get closer to June, July, my expectation is that we'll start to see a lot more inventory. In fact, that's what we saw last year. And if you look, prices went up incredibly between January and really June. July, they leveled off. And then after July, they just came crashing down about 10%. And so during that time, I was telling everybody, you have to be like, this is the time to buy. If you're thinking about buying, this is the time to buy. The market's going to come back. I know it doesn't look that way there's channels out there talking about a crash. That's all they talk about is a crash. And what's happened? Prices are coming back up. We're almost back to that peak already at the beginning of the year. So, that's the thing that they run into. But for the most part, a lot of people that work with us that are moving here for Tesla are super excited. So that's a positive. I think Austin is a really great city. I mean, most people are going to love it. In fact, I did a video today that came out on my channel talking about the regret of moving to Austin. And on there, it was about 60% of people said they absolutely loved it. 26% said they regretted it. And then the rest were people that moved to other cities. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about that market dynamic that's going on in Austin with the pricing. So I do remember, so when we moved, we got super lucky with our primary home. We bought, it seemed like the house was it fell through multiple offers. It was in it was in August of 2020. And it fell through multiple offers. And
that's when the dip. So there was two dips in 2020, and that was the second dip was in August.
Gotcha. Okay.
But so they weren't very big. I mean, maybe they're like 4% dips, but they both came up within a month.
Okay. Got it. So we got our house then, and then within like 6-8 months, when we're working with our realtor and we started looking at like rental properties and stuff like that, we started seeing this gigantic explosion in pricing, which you kind of talked about. It sort of went from between when we really started looking for rentals, it was around January, February of 2021. And then I remember our realtor saying, if you don't buy now, it's going to go up. If you don't buy now, it's going to go up. How do you see, and you kind of mentioned this a little bit already, but how do you see, if you were to have a crystal ball, which nobody has, but walk us through January through the end of this year, 2022. Is it going to have a similar dynamic? And if not, what are you seeing? I'm curious to see from your perspective what some of your expectations are for 2022.
Cool. And I'll email you a graph so you can, if you're going to edit, you can put up.
Oh, please do.
Graph.
Yeah, please do.
I'll share it with you. So if you look at last year, primarily from January, so let's step back to 2020. We had the craziest year ever in 2020 where pretty much for 3 months, really no sales were happening. And that was a time to move here. And then people realized, I want to get out of wherever. And then, so you saw this dip and then this crazy up, and then prices got high and then it dipped again, like it typically does in around the August, September area. And then it went up and it went all the way up through July of last year. And then it dropped about 10%. But even that drop at 10% compared to the highest high at 2020 was about a 15% difference. In fact, most of the numbers came out at the end of the year saying that we were about 25 to 30% higher than the previous year. So what I see happening for this year is very similar. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on right now in 2022, and it's an election year. Election years are fantastic years in real estate, believe it or not. Every time, because think about it, every time there's chaos or something going on, people are trying to buy and latch down into a home, right? And so that's exactly what's going to happen this year in 2022. So we're going to see probably not the same spike in growth as we saw in 2021. And that's partly to do with rates rising. Had rates not risen as quickly as they did, I think right now would be even more insane. So I see prices, on my YouTube channel, I put out a poll asking people where prices are. They going to be 15% higher than last year, below, or are we going to see a crash? Most people said over 15%. And I agree with that. I think we're probably this year going to see a 12 to 15% from January to December growth. I think between now and July, or now and June, we're going to see a pretty precipitous growth where you see prices go from right now, the median's 555 in Austin. In the MSA, I think it's 485. So that 485 in the MSA, which is the greater Austin area, is probably going to end up around 540, 550 by the end of the year.
Wow.
And Austin is probably going to be in the sixes by the time we hit December. Now, you're asking me, what time should I buy if you're buying? It's tough. I would buy now, obviously, and then keep an eye on if you can't buy now and like you're just not in the position, don't. And then I would heavily wait till August, September, and October. I wouldn't wait till November. I would want to be out of the market by November, just because November is when prices start really coming back up. So I would say if you can't buy now, wait till then. Now you're going to say to me, Jeremy, what about interest rates? Interest rates are going up. We've had Sarah Morris, who's a lender on my a lender in Austin on my channel. They're predicting we're going to see interest rates go up and then they're going to drop down after July, is what she's anticipating. So if that's an indication, if interest rates drop down and you're in August, we're going to see a lot of people flood back in the market. What happens in August, and I can see another chart, is that's when we have more inventories by July. So you have more to pick from, but you're still probably going to be in a multiple offer situation. You're not. I just saw yesterday, 65 offers. A house was listed at 750, sold for 955. So one of my lender friends sent it to me, and I put it on my Instagram channel. So on my Instagram. So I would say if you're looking at buying, I would get in between now and March. Actually, March is a really weird month because we have South by Southwest. People are out of town. So maybe look at March because you might not have as much competition in March. And then I would keep an eye on prices and maybe wait until August. Not many realtors are going to tell you to wait because I'm telling you, even if you wait, it could still cost you more between buying in March and then. But I think the competition and not having to be as stressed will be a little bit better for you at that time.
Gotcha. Wow. Okay. And so in the July timeframe, you mentioned that the lending partner that you know predicts. There's a prediction of those rates coming down. So was that a function of more supply? What's driving that potential rate decrease?
It has a lot to do with the 10-year Treasury bond coming back down at that time. So that's what she was predicting, and everybody on her inner circle. But at the same time, you have to take it with a grain of salt because they did not anticipate rates driving up this quickly. Right. So that was my question that I hounded her several times on. Well, how can you go and say that? But it's not just her that's telling me, that's other people. But I'm also the person telling you that prices are going to go up through July, and I could be wrong at that. But I'm just saying what I've seen year to year to year. That's what the trends looks like, and I try to stay on the trends versus go. Here's a prime example. Yesterday, the stock market was down 1,000 points. And everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, you should sell." I bought stock. I bought stock around 1 o'clock. And what happened at the end of the day? Stocks were back up. Right. So, you have to look at it that way too. Is if we see a couple months where prices drop, don't get super worried that they're going to keep dropping. That might be the time to buy. If you wait, you might spend more money.
Yeah. And so do you foresee a dynamic where if the talk about interest rates really getting heated up, like say, it looks really hawkish and then, the Fed's really trying to ramp up rates as quickly as possible. Do you see a flood of buying ahead of that to try and lock in lower rates?
That's what we're seeing right now. 65 offers on a property that went listed at 750 and sold for 955.
Right. Okay.
205 grand over. That's crazy. What is
That's pretty wild stuff.
35%. 30. Wow. Yeah. 30%.
Wow. Crazy. What a crazy time. It seems so wild.
But here's the point I was making to people, not to wait to January. For the longest time, I was telling people you got to buy before November. Yeah. And if you look at 2021, their inventory, and I'll send you a clip or something that I found, there was 0.5 months inventory or 0.4 months inventory in January of last year. There was 0.4 months inventory in February, 0.5, 0.6, and then went up to about a month inventory. And then it dropped back down. And that's obviously August, September, October is when those inventory started coming back down. If you look at January of this year, we're probably going to be at 0.3.
Wow.
When the numbers come out in middle of February, we're going to be at 0.3. Right now, there's 2,000 homes available on the MLS. I would say 30% of those are new construction that aren't actually able to be purchased and moved into today. Right. So if you put a contract on it, you're not moving into 30 days, you're moving into like July of this year. And where are rates then? So people are kind of looking at those going, And then 10% aren't even in the Austin area. If you look at and go out, like people from anywhere can put a home in the Austin MLS. So 10% aren't. So now you're looking about only 1,300, 1,400 homes actually being available, single family homes on the market.
Wow.
That's nothing. That's nothing.
Yeah. So we still really have a very, very small supply to go around. Are you still seeing supply chain issues impacting builders? That's still a deal down here?
Well, that, and if you look at lumber futures, lumber has come up 100%.
Wow. Okay.
So, I mean,
because it came down for a while, right? Like it spiked up like crazy, came down, but now it's spiking back up.
So the high was like $1,600 a board foot or $1,700 a board foot. We're about, I think 12 right now. So, okay. I mean, we're getting really close. We're coming or approaching the close of the highs. A lot of that has to do with tariffs on Canadian lumber. So that's a problem. I'm not one to talk about tariffs. I don't know a lot about tariffs and what that means, but tariffs are causing prices to increase in lumber. If you look at a lot of these builders, we're still running into problems where, so what I've been doing for the last week, I had, the stuff, the illness that's going around. So what we did is email. Yeah,
you and I both, buddy.
Yeah. So what I did was send emails to all the builders while I was not feeling well. Like, hey, what inventory do you have? What do you have coming up? And the amount of inventory that's coming up is not very much. And a lot of it has to do with they have like nobody building. So everybody that's building right now is coming down with Omicron, so they're not working, right? You have people in the sales office that aren't there. You have lumber, you have framers, you have plumbers that can't come to work. So nobody's building that much anyway. And then getting supplies, the supply chain's having the same issue. People are coming down with Omicron, and so they're not at work. So I think it will get better towards the middle of the year and builders will start selling more. The challenge is, though, if you put a contract on a lot of these builders, it's going to take a year to build, if not 15 months. I mean, my house, I'm building an investment property in New Braunfels, and it was supposed to close in November. We're not going to close till April.
Wow,
hopefully. Okay. So that's one part of it. The other thing is a lot of these builders aren't releasing inventory because what they're having to do is say, we don't know where prices are going to go because of lumber. We don't know where prices are. So if we put together, so typically if you walked into a new build, you could say, okay, I want to pick out this lot, this floor plan, these, this paint color, this tile, all that stuff. It's really hard to do that because builders understand that they can't fully price out where those things are going to cost them in the future. So what they're doing is they're pre-speccing out all of their homes. So they're saying, all right, we're going to put this lot on this property on this lot with these cabinets, this, and they're doing as cheap as possible, right? They're doing the most cost-effective as possible. And then as they get to framing stage, now they understand where their costs are, and now they can price it 4 or 5 months out to closing. So gotcha. You as a consumer, so check this out. This is where I get frustrated and look, as a builder, I understand you have margins to make. I get it. As a business owner, I understand. But as a consumer, think about this. If you were to go into a new build and you were to just go hog wild and pick out every upgrade you wanted, and let's just say you put up $200,000 in upgrades in this house. Okay. Well, you're going to spend 200. So you have your base price, your lot price. So you're going to spend 200 grand more on all these upgrades, and the house is going to be looking great. Yep. How you wanted it.
Yep.
Well, the builder is now going to charge you $200,000 more for the cheapest stuff they can put in that house.
Oh, wow.
So you were getting a much lower, I wouldn't say quality, but you're not getting as high end of a product.
Yeah. You're not getting what you would have paid for, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's going to be a problem this year.
Wow. So it does seem like all the variables that existed in 2020, 2021 that really made the market shot up, it seems like they all basically exist again.
Yeah,
That's what it looks like.
Yeah. I was quoted in Bloomberg by saying 2020, believe it or not, was a great year. 2021 has been a nightmare. That was my direct quote. Now, 2022, I'm taking a wait and see approach before I say it's going to be like that. But we are already seeing early 2021 interest rates, I think, will have an impact. The flip side of that is a lot of people are thinking we're going to see a lot of inventory. The problem is that people like myself, I would sell my house and go buy another house and upgrade, right? The challenge is I look and go, well, my interest rate on my house is now 2.55 because I got to slam in refi. So my mortgage is super low. If I rent out my house, because mortgages are rental rates are just going through the roof right now as well. Well, I'm going to make $2,000 or $3,000 a month off of this house. Yeah, I'm going to have to put $300,000 down on whatever $1.2 million house I'm going to buy. But like most of my mortgage is already paid for it for my rental. So why would I sell the house? Makes no sense. Now I have two properties. And then when I sell that house, it's going to be worth even more. So I think we'll see a limited inventory this year.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Man. Crazy stuff.
It's
so wild. It's such a seller's market. It's like people that are looking to come in and really try and find any opportunity they can to move into the area. It's like they have every variable going against them, it seems like, just because of all these different market dynamics. So it's like, but at the same time, if they wait, it seems like, and I think you did a video about this, Elon Musk talked about the greatest boomtown in the last 50, 60 years, right? So it's like that kind of walks into this as well. Like, do you agree with that statement? Do you think 100%. That this is just
we're seeing it.
Okay.
I mean, look, what he said about Austin was that what I've been saying for quite a while is that we are set to have major growth. The problem is the city's never been ready for it. And for as much talk as all these building permits are out, like, people say, oh, well, building permits are up 60% in Austin. So the market's going to have all this inventory. They can't build. They still can't build. Just because you get a permit doesn't mean that house is a property then. So it's taking time for all this stuff to build. Will this stuff clear itself out? Yeah, we're going to see we're going to see the other side of this parabola, in 2024, 2025. And that's my thinking is that if you're going to be moving to Austin, you're probably going to be paying the same price, mid 2022 as you would in 2025. Because I think we do see prices come back down, but I don't see them being. I just don't see it where we crash. There's just so much growth here. I mean, think about how many jobs is Tesla bringing?
I think they're planning initially at 10,000 plus then some.
Planning at 10,000. They just bought more land on the other side of the Colorado River.
Yeah.
So whatever they're doing over there, which I imagine is going to be offices and stuff like that. So I would imagine. So Tesla's bringing in that many people. But think about all the providers that are going to be bringing in manufacturing jobs and manufacturing parts and things like that for Tesla. So it's not 10,000 jobs. It's probably going to be 20,000 jobs. And that's just Tesla saying they're bringing in 10. Now you have Samsung, which is one company. It's going to be facilitating chips for Tesla. They're bringing in another ton of, $17 billion plant in Taylor. So is this going to slow down? No, it's not. But there will be a point when it does become too unaffordable. And that's a point where, people will start getting back in the market. Because look at investors. I'm an investor. I buy in the Austin market. You're an investor buying in the Austin market. Are you having a hard time buying in the Austin market as an investor right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So imagine. I
almost don't want to anymore.
Yeah. But imagine you see a moment of opportunity when the prices drop back down and our rates aren't crazy. You're going to say, I'm jumping back in because by that time, we'll see rental rates catch up to those prices, because that's what one of the critiques about Austin is. Those rental rates are not caught up to price appreciation. They will. Right. So, investors are going to be back in this market because they know unless Tesla says, I'm leaving, Apple says they're leaving, Meta says they're leaving, Samsung says they're leaving, I don't see the Austin slowing down.
Gotcha. Yeah, I agree with you, man. That's, insane dynamics, crazy dynamics. I want to talk about Tesla a little bit more.
Sure.
So
I always love talking about Tesla.
Yeah, nice. Talk to me about how did you discover Tesla? Like, when did you hear about it? I'm really curious. A lot of my followers are, we're all big Tesla fans. I've been following the company since 2012, 2013. But I'm curious, what's your Tesla journey? Like, how did you come across Tesla, Elon, and all that stuff? Curious to hear.
As far as like so as Tesla started growing, I was super excited about the opportunity. I had a lot of friends that were buying Teslas at the time. So I thought, here's the one thing everybody always asks me, like, would you buy a different EV? And I always say, look, the new Rivian truck, I like it. It looks great. The new Ford truck, I love it. It looks great. The Cybertruck is kind of out there, but I'm sure it's going to look really cool when it comes out. But here's the deal. I'll never buy a non-Tesla EV. And the reason why is the infrastructure. Do you know how hard, like I drive to South Padre and I take my Model Y, which my wife has a beautiful X5, and we fit more stuff into my Model Y than we can fit in her big SUV. Yeah. So every time I'm like, see all the stuff we got in this thing? You didn't even realize it. And there's 2 charging points on the way down to South Padre. There's not a very great one in South Padre, but but Rivian doesn't have that. The Ford doesn't have that. And I mean, I can sit and charge my car and fart at people. I mean, that's the greatest thing about my car.
Right.
Okay. So, but as far as like when I heard Tesla was coming in here, I had heard through the grapevine that Elon was looking at stuff. I mean, obviously, when some of the stuff comes out, because I have a YouTube channel, people, hey, did you hear this? Just like I made the announcement about Disney stuff happening here, and then that guy almost got sued. So that was interesting. But when I was finding out about it, I actually did a video saying, hey, Elon, these are the reasons why you should pick Austin, because at the time it was between Austin and I think Tulsa. And so I did a video like, hey, Elon, if you want to move, like these are the reasons you should move to Austin over Tulsa. And so since then, because I've done videos like that, I've worked with a lot of Tesla employees. I mean, we probably close 2 to 3 Tesla employees a month as far as either buying a home. I don't do a ton of rentals. I have an agent now that we brought on that is facilitating some of our rentals. But so it's been interesting.
Interesting. And then as far as like your close group of friends and say your family, how is because you've seen you kind of see that Tesla sort of infrastructure, how big of a advantage that seems to be versus other manufacturers, right? How do you, like, people that you talk to, people that might not be as familiar with the company, or perhaps they are, like, what does that look like? Are people realizing that advantage with Tesla as well, or is it still kind of not well understood, like as far as it being an EV that's a legitimate replacement for a gas car? I'm curious to hear.
Let's just say that my referral program is doing well.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Here's the deal. And I think, everybody that watches this channel probably understands this, but a lot of people, because I've been driving a Model Y for a little over a year, a lot of people are now asking me like, what about, how is your Model Y? What do you think about your Model Y? Yeah. And I would like to get the Model X and get bigger. And that's just because, personal things. I love the Model Y. I might keep both, but I'm also waiting for the truck to come out. But what people are asking me and what I'm telling them about the Model Y and why I like this product is primarily because the infrastructure, number one. Number two, it is a more tech forward vehicle. So you do get a lot of really great features in it. And on top of that is that the biggest problem in a lot of these major cities is that gas prices are out of control. Like a lot of the people that call me moving to Texas are like, gas prices are high. Now that in Texas has always been super low. Like I remember before Biden took office, gas prices were in Texas were like $1.60 a gallon. Yeah, it was crazy low, $1.75 a gallon. And now as gas prices are coming up in Texas, a lot more people are reaching out to me like, hey, give me more information about your Model Y. What do you think about it? Should I get it? Should I get a Model 3? Do you think I should get the Model X? What should I get? And so a lot more people are reaching out to me. And, obviously we talk about Tesla on my YouTube channel. And so a lot of people reach out to me for that reason. But a lot of my friends are looking at EV options because gas prices are getting so high.
Wow, that's very interesting to hear. That was a shock for me when I moved to Texas. Like I knew Texas produces its own oil and it's an energy rich state. I remember when we lived in Pennsylvania and gas was around, I think like $3.20 when we moved, like $3.30. And then it was like you said, like $1.60, $1.50. I'm like, what the hell? It feels like I'm like back in 1999 or something in the United States or something when it was super, super cheap. So that's very interesting to hear. So gas prices seem to be a legitimate variable for people to want to move to EVs from your experience, which is interesting.
And everybody always asks me about the charging, right? And what about the charging? Do you charge at home? And I think that's the biggest concern. Is I think people have the concern because they can go to any gas station, that it's easier just to have a gas vehicle. And I say, well, let me ask you this. Especially people in my profession, like how much time do you spend in your car writing emails, responding to clients, So if you were to drive around town all day and you had to charge, now there's more stations in Austin, which is fantastic. Elon, please bring more. But now that there's more stations, you can sit for 20 minutes, send out your emails, charge your car, and then you're gone and you're on the road. It's not that big of an issue. And as somebody who drives around a lot and who's just had to replace 2 tires on my Model Y because I drive around so much, I'm at the charger once, maybe twice a month. I'm very rarely and I drive around all over. So I think that's why people are looking more towards an EV option, is they're realizing that it's not as big as a hassle. In fact, I always feel weird driving to a gas station now. Like they know I'm getting snacks. I know that's what I'm getting.
Same. It's like I'm completely exposed because I'm like, I always feel weird pulling up, or, I'm trying to like clean my windshield or something, while I'm at the gas station. Would you say is a Tesla a good real estate agent car? Like, would you,
100%.
Okay.
And a lot of realtors reaching out to me, and they're considering between the Y and the X and the 3. And so I always tell them, go and spend the money on the X. And they go, but it's $120,000. I'm like, is it really $120,000?
Right.
Well, yeah, it's $120,000. I don't want to buy $120,000. I'm like, look. And one of my good Tesla friends explained this to me. Obviously, once you're paying less in gas and all that stuff, that's one part of it. But let's say you pay, you put $10,000 down and you're paying X amount per month for the vehicle. Yeah, you have a $120,000 car, which is obviously keeping their value. But by the time you go to trade that in for something else, you've maybe spent 30 grand on it, 40 grand. I mean, how much you really like, it's not a $120,000 car. So that's how it's explained to me. And it's smart. Cause you're buying a $500,000 house, but are you really buying a $500,000 house? You're putting 20% down. So you're putting, whatever that is, 150 grand down. And then by the time you've done financing it, you've paid $225,000. Then you sell it and then you make a ton of money. Mm-hmm. So, right now you're making a ton of money. You might not always make a ton of money. So I better back up there, but you're making all your money back is what I'm saying. So it's a good investment. So I see the Model Y, the X. I can't wait for the Cybertruck. I think they're all a decent investment.
Yeah. And what you do like your ride-alongs with your clients and stuff, like how often is it someone's first time in a Tesla? Do you still encounter that? Like, I'm curious to hear, because you probably do that a lot, right?
Yeah. So one of the writers from Bloomberg came out and we jumped in my car and drove around to show him stuff. The entire time we were in my car, was asking me about my YouTube channel and be like, oh, this car's so nice. This car does this. I love this car. Like, tell me, because he lived in New York and had never been in a Model Y. And so these cars, and by the time we got out, he kept asking me more. I'm like, hey, do you want a referral code? Gets you some charging miles. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's very, very cool. Cybertruck. So you said you're very, very excited about the Cybertruck. Why is that? What's so exciting about that car?
Well, look, this is Texas. And so when I moved to Texas, being in real estate, I bought a really nice Mercedes. I thought you needed a really nice Mercedes. That it's not Dallas, it's not LA, right? So you don't need that. So I know a lot of realtors drive nice trucks, and I stage properties. We go hunting in Texas. We do a lot of things. So you need a truck. And so the fact that there's going to be an EV option for a truck, I would much rather buy an EV option for a truck than a gasoline truck. There's a lot of reasons why. But having that same ability, having a nicer version of a regular gasoline truck in Texas is huge, especially when I can wrap it in Texas flag.
Yeah, wow. And do you think that the Cybertruck's going to have long-term success with like truck buyers? Because that's something that we always talk about in the Tesla community. Like,
let me ask you this. Every time you see Elon driving around to the new facility and you see the Cybertruck that he's driving around, every time you see it, you go, oh, that looks cool.
Of course.
or that thing is the ugliest thing I've seen. But the more you see it, just like the DeLorean, the more you see it, the more you go, okay, that thing's kind of cool. And so I think because it was such an out there design, a lot of people are like, no, this is not an option. I'm not doing this. I want to go buy the Rivian or buy something else. But the more you see that truck and you see people standing in the back of it, you're like, dang, that's a really cool looking truck. Yeah. And then you see all the options you can do on it. And then you see, obviously having an EV versus a gasoline, I think it's going to be a really big option. And, Rivian was valued at 90 billion or whatever
something
it was,
like that,
something like that. And once the Cybertruck starts hitting the ground, I guarantee you it's going to be a talking piece. And I think that's where it's just going to be a bigger option, and people are going to want it even more.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think the design is genius. It doesn't need a logo, right? Like it's triangle. It's a triangle on the road. People are like, holy crap! They'll know what it is. It's gonna. Elon's talked about transforming the look of the road, and I do believe that's going to be the case. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people, and I think I was speaking with somebody. His name's
it might cause a lot of accidents because people are going to go, whoa!
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's going to be freaking weird.
Yeah,
it's going to be really, really weird. I'm very excited for mine. I have one on order, and I can't wait to get my hands on mine. I just have to.
Which one did you get? Did you get the 1, 2, or 3 motor?
I got the 3 motor one, but there's talks that there might be a 4 motor one. I think they have an earnings call tomorrow where I think Elon's going to give an update on the product roadmap, and there's rumors that the 3 motor is going to be replaced with a 4 motor because it's going to crab walk or whatever. So those are the rumors. I don't know if that's going to be. Yeah, me too, man.
Take my money.
Sure.
Take my money.
Same. I know we're coming up on an hour and you have a flight to catch here soon. Did you want to sort of share any last thought about Austin or Tesla before we wrap this up?
Yeah. So, one last thought about Austin. I've said a lot of things that probably alarmed people about moving to Austin. I will say this, there is still a lot of growth that's happening here, and the potential for Austin from a growth standpoint. Yeah, it's expensive now, but it's probably going to be more expensive in the future. So getting in is definitely still a good idea. Austin as a city is a fantastic city. There's so many wonderful things about Austin as a city that I don't think people understand. The culture here is overall fantastic. When you go, there's a coffee shop I love down south, and a lot of coffee shops are like this. It's an outdoor coffee shop. You go in, get your coffee, sit outside. There's Wi-Fi out there. Obviously, you have a taco truck, a barbecue truck, and it's a huge open area, and it's beautiful. And it's Cosmic Coffee, my favorite place. There's a lot of coffee joints like that. If you're into like craft drinks, there's a lot of like craft breweries that are coming out. And so I think because Austin has such a good culture of people here, I do think that it's going to be one of those places that continues to see. I think it's going to start getting underestimated, right? Because now, like, it was always it was always like, oh, Austin's this thing. And so it became, now people are saying it's overvalued, or it's overpriced, or, it's overhyped. I think it's only the beginning of the hype for Austin. I really do. And so, I saw the writing on the wall back in 2012 when I moved here. Now, as far as Tesla being here, I think, for the people that don't want Tesla being here, I think you're being a little narrow-sighted, but at the same time, your opinion's your opinion. I think Tesla being here was part of the impetus for Austin finally getting the credit it deserves.
Got it. Yeah, I want to echo the thing about Austin being, me being new to the area, and you mentioned about the people being I was so shocked. I was so initially weirded out by how nice people were. I'm like, are people being legit? Like when because it felt like when they asked me, how you doing? Sir, how you doing, sir? I'm like, I'm good, but why are you asking me like that? Like, it seems like you're really concerned about me or something like that. So it was very weird because I didn't experience that very much in the Northeast where I'm from originally. But the warmth of the people is one of my favorite things about the area. And I am super, super, super excited for its long-term potential, especially as more, tech companies come in and other parts of the, it's going to be a very unique melting pot, I think. And Austin has a chance to really, try and keep some of its roots that really make it as charming as it is, while also be accepting of those that come in. And I think ultimately long-term, that's going to be a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. And I'm very much excited for it. I think it's
really important what you just said, that Austin keep that culture alive.
Yes.
And that's, I think, what people are worried about as we grow. But that is by far, if we lose that culture, then yes, Austin's just another Houston. It's just another, Dallas. I mean, Dallas is unique in its own way, but it's just another city on a map.
I agree.
One thing I will tell anybody that's watching your channel, if they're thinking about moving to Austin, you will start hearing people say y'all.
Yes.
Instead of you guys, they say y'all. You will start saying it sarcastically. And within 2 or 3 months, you'll catch yourself saying y'all, like for real, like y'all, like, wait, did I just say that? Like, did I say that on purpose or was I joking? I can't tell anymore. So, and that's the thing is like people are so friendly here. And I think, the culture here, as long as we can keep that awesome culture, it definitely is going to be a place to move to.
I agree, man. I agree. Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on. You want to throw any socials for people where they can follow you?
Yeah, you can follow me at The Real Jeremy Knight on Instagram. Obviously, just YouTube my name, Jeremy Knight, your Moving to Austin guide. Follow my YouTube channel. We put out videos every week. I have a live stream on Tuesday or Wednesday nights, depending on the week at 7 p.m. And we talk all about the market, all the fun stuff, all the things you need to know. So there you go.
Awesome. All right, y'all. Thank you very much. Jeremy, take it easy, man. Thank you again for coming on, and we'll see you guys on the next one.